Welcome everyone to day 4 of Heal and Restore. We will give it a minute to let everyone come in the room.
Welcome, welcome. Good to see you again, Kendra. Welcome, Tara. Lovely to see you. Come on in. Let's get started. It's exciting. Today is the day of soul and spirit, which is definitely my favorite.
And you are in for a treat. And if you're available, turn on your cameras. Helps us feel like more of a community. And if not, that's okay too. We will be watching the chat if you have things to contribute or questions for Wandrea.
Welcome. Come on in.
Great. Okay. So we're excited to welcome back Dr. Deus Wandrea Pennington Wasio, integrative physician, trauma expert, psychedelic assisted therapy facilitator, and author of Top 10 Traits of Highly Resilient People. Today, the session is called The Dawn of the Soul, Architecting Destiny Through Surrender, Devotion, and the Dark Night of the Ego. Sounds amazing. I will let you go from here.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Eric. I appreciate it. And welcome, everyone. I hope that you're enjoying the summit so far, and maybe you're tuning into these live sessions, whether for the meditation or the prompts. I am just really honored to be in this space with you today. As Eric mentioned, I am Dr. Deus Wandrea, and I come to you today as a physician, and yes, as a psychedelic therapy facilitator and meditation teacher, but also as a bodhisattva on the path of conscious evolution. And more than any of the roles that I play, I come to you as someone who has really walked through the fire multiple times and emerged transformed. Today, as we said, we're going to explore something that many of us are going through right now, perhaps without fully understanding what it is. We're going to talk about what I call the dark night of the ego and the dawn of the soul. It's a framework that I have developed that has helped guide people through their most profound transformations. But first, I want to just address something important. You've probably heard the phrase, the dark night of the soul. Anyone here, you've heard that before? It's almost like a spiritual cliche, and it's been used as a catch-all for any difficult period in our lives. But here's what most people don't know. San Juan de la Cruz, you may know him as St. John of the Cross, was a 16th century mystic, and he wrote a poem called Noche Oscura, which translates to dark night. He never called it a dark night of the soul. What he described was actually much more precise and liberating. It's a journey where the soul moves through the darkness, but we're guided by an inner light toward union with the divine or a higher state of consciousness. And the darkness is not the soul's affliction. The darkness is that point where the ego goes through dissolution. And this distinction really is everything. Because when we say dark night of the soul, we make it sound like the soul is lost or broken or suffering, but that is not what's happening. Your soul is never lost. The soul is eternal, wise, and always connected to source or the larger consciousness system. So, what's actually happening during these intense, very disorienting, and sometimes devastating periods of our lives is this: the ego, that constructed sense of self, the identity that we have built from conditioning, from trauma, from societal expectations. That is the ego beginning to dissolve. Any of you recognize this in your own life? We go through these transitions at various times, and the ego doesn't usually go quietly. The ego thrashes, it resists, it clings to what it knows, and it creates crisis after crisis, trying to maintain control. And in that thrashing and that resistance, that desperate clinging, That's where we experience what feels like death. And because, in a sense, it is death, but it's not the death of your soul. It's the death of who you thought you had to be in order to survive, or in order to be loved, or in order to be safe and belong. And on the other side of that death is the dawn of the soul. It's the emergence of your truest, most authentic self. And that is what San Juan wrote about in his poem. And when he got out of prison, where he wrote that poem, he went on to write even more poetry about how his soul was leading his life. Now, as I see it, this journey from the dark night of the ego into the dawn of the soul unfolds in 5 stages. And you might recognize yourself in one of these stages right now. You may have heard me talk about the fact that we are going through a collective dark night of the ego, where so many things are collapsing, especially the egoic structures of patriarchy and colonialism and capitalism. So I said that we go through these cycles in our life many, many times. So just have a sense of, as you're listening to these 5 stages, which ones you recognize. And just know that it's not necessarily a linear path. The soul is on a spiral path of evolution. Okay? So the first stage is the descent into the abyss. This is when the ground beneath you collapses. Everything that you thought was stable begins to crumble, and you feel lost, disoriented, confused. Many of us go through that if you're going through a divorce or a major health crisis where you felt like you were stable and then suddenly you're no longer stable. We went through that with COVID. We're going through that now. This is the stage of awareness, which ties into one of my holistic frameworks, the cornerstone process. In this first stage, your goal is really to become conscious of the patterns, the beliefs, and the identities that no longer serve you. So it can be tough because, of course, your ego is trying to hold on to that sense of self. But it's really an opportunity for you to look at, is this version of me really true to who I am? And then comes the crucible. This is that heat. It's intense. It's that period of transformation where the old self is burned away. And this stage is linked to acceptance, where we're really being called to surrender to the process. This is where we make peace with the past. If we can, we practice forgiveness and let go of the need to control. Now, that's, of course, easier said than done because the ego doesn't want to lose control. But once you can see this pattern in your life, you will see that there have probably been times that you've gone through it, and surrender is always the key. The third stage is the labyrinth, and this is this winding, complex path of self discovery where you're navigating uncertainty, you're probably questioning everything. And for me, this is the stage of accountability. This is where you take full responsibility for your life, where you get to set intentions that are based on your truth, and you reclaim your power as the author of your own story. From there, you move into the fourth phase, which is the ascent toward the light. Now, you might not be fully clear on where you're going, but there's a little bit of light, a little glimmer of hope, and it's linked to inspired action. This is where you start to rebuild your life in alignment with your soul's truth. This is where you're creating new neural pathways, new habits, new ways of being. And the fifth and final stage is rebirth and emergence. This is the dawn itself. This stage I link to appreciation, where you can honor the journey that you've been on, you can celebrate the transformation, and step fully into your purpose with gratitude and joy and wonder. So this whole framework matches the cornerstone process, which is outlined in my book, The Real Self-Love Handbook, and the guidebook From Dark Night to Dawn. And I've used this framework helping people through trauma recovery, addiction healing, spiritual awakening, psychedelic integration, and conscious evolution. So, this matters to many of us now because we feel like we're in that dark night. Maybe you've lost something, a relationship, a job, your health, or a dream. And maybe you're facing some sort of a transition in your life that feels so big and maybe too uncertain or too overwhelming. It could be that you're also just simply exhausted or in burnout from trying to hold everything together or from performing a version of yourself that no longer fits. So, if you've ever been told or you've told yourself that something is wrong with you or that you're broken or that you need to fix yourself or get back on track or return to normal, I invite you to just consider, what if nothing is wrong with you? What if this darkness and the disorientation and the dissolution is actually the most sacred thing happening in your life right now? What if you could look at it as an initiation? And what if this ground that's crumbling is precisely doing this so that you can build something new, something that actually reflects who you truly are? And what if your soul has been calling for this all along the way? So, we've talked about today's session. It's covering three concepts: surrender, devotion, and architecting destiny. And for some people, that might seem contradictory at first. How can you surrender and architect? How can you let go and create? But this is the paradox that's at the heart of transformation. Because surrender doesn't mean giving up, it just means releasing the ego's grip and the need to control or the resistance to what's happening. It's that clinging to old stories. Surrender is the wisdom of the crucible, and it's trusting that the fire is refining you and not destroying you. Devotion. This is the practice of aligning with something greater than yourself. Whether you call that source, God, the divine, the universe, or your own soul's wisdom, devotion is what sustains you through this whole process, through the labyrinth, when that path is unclear. It's the inner compass that guides you. And architecting destiny, this is the empowered action that comes after surrender and devotion, when you stop trying to force life to conform to your ego's plans, and instead you allow your soul to lead. You become the architect of a life that is aligned, authentic, and fulfilling. So you're not passively waiting for destiny to happen to you. You're co creating with the universe with conscious intention and inspired action. So, in a moment, we're going to go through some prompts. Let's see, how many folks do we have here? We've got 21 people. So, we have the opportunity to either do breakout rooms for you to reflect on 8 prompts. They're discussion questions, but they're also considered to be portals into your soul's own wisdom. So, this will help you identify where you might be resisting your own evolution. It can help you recognize the whispers of your soul that you may have been ignoring. These prompts will help you start looking at how to shed the old identities that have been keeping you small or sick, and help you remember the calling that's already encoded within you. So I hope that this will help you reconnect with maybe a sacred truth that's been following you all along. So I invite you to listen deeply, both to yourself and to anyone else who's sharing. Just know that the wisdom you need is already within you. And you don't have to share, but if you decide, I invite you to just speak truthfully. Even if your voice shakes, even if you're not sure of what is the right answer, your authentic expression is really a gift here. And please hold space for the vulnerability and the uncertainty, both for yourself and for others, and allow that tender emergence to happen for all of us. And then just trust whatever arises in this container is exactly what needs to be seen, heard, and honored. So you're not broken. You might be being broken open, and this darkness is not a mistake, it's an initiation. So the dawn is coming. I just want to remind you of that. And all you have to do is say yes. Say yes to the dissolution of what no longer serves. Say yes to the uncertainty of transformation. And say yes to the sacred calling of your own soul. All right. And if you'd like some more support on understanding these 5 stages, I have a guidebook called From Dark Night to Dawn that will help you go through each of these stages with journaling prompts and exercises and affirmations. So I'll put the link to that in the chat. So, Eric, what do you think about breakout rooms, or do we all stay together? Or those of you can also chime in the chat. Do you want to go to a breakout room? If you're not planning on necessarily sharing, you can just stay here and just listen to those who are willing to open up and share. Or I can just read the prompts and you can reflect for yourself.
I think we should do it as a group. That's my thoughts on this one.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to start off with just a general question. How is this landing with you? Has anyone had this sense that you might be going through some dark night of the ego and not the soul? How does this land? Anyone want to share or comment before I read the prompts? Hi, Sarah. I see your hand is up. Let's see if we can unmute.
Mute. There
There
we
you
go.
go.
Okay. Just needed permission. This is like absolutely exactly where I'm at right now. It's so interesting that I didn't even know what I was getting myself into today. I got an email. It said, I went to a couple of summits and I was like, okay, let's see what's going on here today. And without subjecting everyone to my life story, I'm in extreme like ego death right now from my career, which like I sort of stepped away from in July, which was very high performance management. And then completely fell apart and then started pulling things back together. And since then, I've taken a Reiki practitioner course. I've taken a death doula course. And I'm basically I've like completely surrendered this my identity as my career. Like I've just completely like let go of that. That's dead, which is something I never thought would happen in my life. And so I'm somewhere in the middle of this right now. I'm somewhere in the middle of these stages that you put out here, but it's certainly it's just been it's just an amazing experience for sure. I'm just trying to be okay with the uncertainty. That's the big thing, right? Yeah.
Oh, thank you so much for sharing. Yeah, if you've gone from a corporate environment or a sense where much of your identity has been tied up in positions, roles, titles, all of that, it can feel so scary and disorienting, especially if you might have been a little bit of a control freak like I used to be. It's like, no, I have to know what my next step is and who I am and how do I present myself to the world. So I'm sending you blessings as you surrender and find your way through. It sounds like you're in the labyrinth because what you're doing is you're like, oh, maybe I'll do this death doula and I'll do Reiki, and you're twisting and turning like, is this me? Is this me? And what I find is what's really helpful is just tuning into what are your values, and that really helps. So thank you so much for sharing here today. All right, Kendra, I see that your hand is up.
Yeah, you just helped me realize that all the stuff that's been going, there have been just like many challenges all at once. And as I told you in a previous session, that it was, overwhelming. I just realized what happened, that my ego got scared and was trying to cling to anything to feel safe. And because part of it is medical issues, that really set the ego off into its job of keep us safe, keep us alive, because it's scary when the body is not working, and I'm facing possibly a spinal surgery, which kind of scares me. So, but that made me realize that just affected everything else. It just got into this vortex of fear. And you just reminded me what a spiritual teacher once said to me before, which is, this is not being done to you, it's being done for you. And so you talking about the stages made me realize, oh yeah, it's an initiation. Yeah. So thank you. Yeah.
Thank you so
I
much
guess
for
I'm in
sharing.
stage one, but I'm already seeing the light, especially after this morning's meditation, which was really effective for me. So yeah. So thank you.
I'm so
Yeah.
glad to hear that. Yeah, that insight is really key, because what you're being asked to check on is, who am I? Am I my body? Am I my health status? Am I my bank balance? Am I the role? Or am I perhaps the consciousness that is having this life experience in a human avatar? And if that is true, if you can say, okay, maybe I'm not this bundle of neuroses or the body or the ego, then you can look at it as an initiation. Like, this is part of my spiritual journey. And can we prove that this is happening for you and not to you? Maybe, maybe not. But that shift in perspective gives you so much more power and takes you out of victim mentality, I find, for most of us. So thank you for coming back, Kendra, and I'm glad to hear that this is helpful.
Thank you.
So let's get into the questions. I want to give you these prompts, and you can reflect on them, maybe write or just meditate on them. And the first one is this: what part of you is still afraid of the magnitude of your own soul? I know we've been talking about the ego and how scary it is, but is there a part of you that might be afraid of how big and brilliant your soul could be? And what would shift if you trusted that your calling is not a burden, but maybe an inheritance? So thank you. Eric has just put that into the chat. So the first prompt: what part of you is still afraid of the magnitude of your own soul? I find that when we go through these dark nights, especially if much of your early adulthood was built in response to trauma or programming, you've likely built a sense of self that wasn't necessarily aligned with your soul. It might have been aligned with survival. And some of us get these little hints about, ooh, this is what I would really do if I could, if I trusted. But sometimes it's scary, like, can I be that bold? Can I shine that bright? Can I be that magnificent? So just reflect on that. What would shift if you did trust that your calling was actually an inheritance? So our next prompt: where in your life are you resisting the darkness of this dark night that could be actually trying to liberate you? Where in your life are you resisting a dark night? And what might this initiation be asking you to see, to shed, or surrender? I'll give you some time to reflect. So Veda, the meaning of the dark night of the ego is typically when we go through a challenging life transition, which can be a health crisis, a financial crisis, a death, a loss of a relationship or status. It can feel like we are falling into a dark pit. And some people have called it the dark night of the soul, which is actually not correct. It's a dark night of the ego, because the soul is always intact, but the ego clings to old identities, a sense of normalcy or quote unquote safety and familiarity. So when you feel like everything might be stripped away from you, or the ground is falling beneath you and you're in darkness, you don't know who you are, you don't know where to go. For some people, that's what we call the dark night. So our next prompt is this. If your destiny is already encoded within you, what whisper or nudge have you heard repeating this year? Or what have you been pretending not to hear? Because sometimes the soul, it comes with insight or nudges or synchronicities or feelings or intuitions that we often dismiss. Often the ego is saying, no, 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 you can't think about that. We can't do that. We need to stay practical. But if your destiny was already encoded within your life path, are there any whispers that have been repeating this year that maybe you've been pretending not to hear? Because sometimes a dark night can feel like it's coming out of left field. And certainly that has happened. I've had clients who said that they thought they were in a stable, healthy marriage, and all of a sudden their partner asks for a divorce. And that can feel like, I didn't see that coming. But if you were to pull back, were there any little signs or hints? Becoming more sensitive to the whispers of the soul or synchronicities can be a real help in our lives so that life doesn't have to always give us pain in order to evolve. So the next question is this. What identity must die in order for your soul's dawn to arrive? That identity might be an old role, old expectations, old loyalties, old fears. What identity must die so that you can move into the dawn of the soul? And early on, I mentioned that this term, Dark Night of the Soul, came about because many people heard the poem by San Juan de la Cruz, or St. John of the Cross. But his poem was called Dark Night, not Dark Night of the Soul. And in his case, he was imprisoned, he was beaten, he was starved. And in that prison, of course he's thinking, of course he had expectations of being treated fairly. And the thrashing that he experienced, that you read about in that poem, was the old self that felt like there's a right way for things to go. And it was the soul that emerged once he finally surrendered, because he describes in the poem that there was this flame, this inner light, and that led him to this union with the divine. But if he had stayed stuck in, this shouldn't be happening, these prison guards are awful, then he probably wouldn't have recognized it. So that's why we ask, what identity must die for you in order for the dawn of the soul to arrive? And this one's a little bit similar. The next prompt is, how would you live if you believed that your purpose was not something to find, but something to remember? Many of us go searching, searching, and seeking. But I wonder, how would you live if you believed that your purpose was not something to find, but something to remember? And our next prompt. Are you all ready? I don't want to go too fast if you need a little more time. I want to also leave time for anyone who might want to share or reflect on any of these prompts. All right, you guys seem to be okay. So the next one is, what is one sacred truth that has been following you throughout your life, just waiting to be acknowledged? And I've popped that one into the chat as well. Maybe you don't recognize it as a sacred truth, but you know that there's something maybe that's been in the back of your mind or in your heart or in your gut for all of your life, but you haven't been willing to see it or acknowledge it. If you did know what it is, what is one sacred truth that's been following you throughout your life? And next up, in what area of your life have you been architecting your destiny from fear? And what would shift if you architected from devotion instead? In what area of your life have you been architecting from fear or survival? And what would shift if you architected from devotion instead? Thank you for that reflection, Ben. We'll come back to that. You recognize that everything has been coming from fear as you're carrying an injured child. Not sure if it's your own childhood, but it's ruling everything, even at the age of 50 years old. Thank you for sharing. Yeah, we'll get into that. You're not alone there. And our final prompt for this session. During your hardest moments, what quality of your soul quietly carried you? And how can you let that lead in the new year? Do you recognize any quality of resilience or faith, a quality you might attribute to the soul that has helped you in your darkest moments? And what if you deliberately chose to let that quality lead in 2026 and beyond? Thank you, M. Michelle. I'm glad these are insightful questions helping you kind of go beneath the surface. So I'm happy to open up to anyone who might like to comment or ask a question or share. What's coming up for you? I'll share one of the qualities that I've only recently been able to speak about publicly. Some of you don't know me. So I have been in the media for over 25 years in the United States on Discovery Channel and Oprah and CNN and all the talk shows, and also in the UK. And I had been one of those people that was very much programmed to be the good girl, the obedient one, the perfectionist, and to really focus on things that I could prove with facts, thanks to my dear old dad. And I discounted and denied a lot of my artistic performing arts drives, a lot of my intuition, and even my connection to the spirit world. You know, in my childhood, I would have precognitive dreams. I could pick up on people across different parts of the world, but I thought it was weird and woo woo, and so I never really shared it. Well, earlier this fall, I went live in a group discussion about some of my paranormal experiences, not just the near death experience that many people have seen in my TED Talk, but also distance healing, energy healing, remote viewing, all these sorts of things. And I've really decided that this is the part of me that I must use going forward, this intuitive, soulful, spirit led part. So that's what I'm doing. Is there anyone here that would like to share what's coming up for you? Any of the prompts that have sparked anything? So, you know, Ben mentioned that there's been a lot of fear driving his sense of architecting his life. And maybe there are others of you that have felt that as well, because it doesn't usually go away just because we have an intellectual understanding that I'm capable, I can do things, I've got a degree. Gosh darn it. We still have these parts of us, these inner tender parts that need to be reprogrammed and recoded and brought up to speed. Hello, Rose. I see your hand is up.
Hi, thank you. These questions are going to take some time to really reflect on, to get to really be able to dig down and squeeze all the juice out of it. And one of the things that you said before the questions is really important about how things may not be wrong and we may not be broken, but we're being broken open. And that really resonates with me in this season of my life. And the different stages that you mentioned, I can see how there are, excuse me, parts of me that are in different stages. And I really like how you described it as more of being in a wheel. And so, you know, we can be in different parts at the same time. You know, one part of us is advancing in one way and it can be in a different stage. And for me, I can, you know, as with these questions, I can look back on some of the things in my life and I can see how this year is when I'm discovering some of the common threads. And the exactly what you said of these are not things that happen to me, but things that are happen for me. I never could see that before this year. And so I think that really going through the questions can help give us that focus to be able to move forward in a way that integrates the past, the present, and the future in a wholesome, not a wholesome, but in a whole integral story. So that's kind of what it means to me. And I've been looking a little bit more recently about where are the resistances, because I can see that, oh, those are the things that are trying to tell me something about myself so that I can address them and move forward taking it all with me, you know, not carrying weight, but taking the things that were in my past and not just shoving them away and hiding them, but taking the wisdom from them to go forward and to move into this new stage of my life where I'm building and I like what you said, building from devotion instead of from fear. So those are kind of some of my takeaways.
Thank you so much for sharing that, Rose. Yes, I'm happy that the idea of a wheel or a spiral, as I call it, is what we evolve through. And I bring that up because oftentimes we think we've beaten something like, okay, I've worked through my inner child issue or the father wound or the mother wound, but life continues to bring us new opportunities to revisit, but we're revisiting hopefully from a higher perspective. Sometimes it can feel like we're being thrown back into old patterns because maybe through stress or through old programming, it's easy to just be the same way that you've always been. But with this insight that you're having now, like just really looking at, oh, all of these patterns, they just need to be healed and integrated. So I like that you said that it's not that you're trying to get rid of them, because especially when we're looking at the inner child, you're not going to get rid of them. Our inner child, inner toddler, inner teenager, they don't go away. They're going to be with us. And so if we can learn to give them what they need and bring them up to speed and up to date, they can move with us. And as you pointed out, Rose, in a more integral or integrated and whole fashion. So I'm grateful that you're here today. And yeah, please keep going through the questions and reflect, and wishing you blessings as you move ever forward on the journey of the soul and architecting from devotion. That's been a big key in my community, working with other people. It's like, what if I didn't do it based on fear? What if I did something based on the devotion to my dream or my soul? So it's good to have you here. So Sarah, I see that your hand is up. And then Ben.
Yes. So I just wanted to also just say to Ben that like this is a very, for me, familiar thing as well. Like I feel like my broken child is like okay now, but it's been quite a lot of work to get to that point. But it is absolutely possible, and there's so many tools out there for taking care of the little person that your parents didn't take care of, you know, in the way that they should have, and being able to sort of heal that part. Um, like Rose, I'm going to need a lot more time with many of these questions in order to really like get into them. But there were a few where it was just like instant, right? Like where the thought just came to mind instantly. And what was interesting for me was when you asked what identity must die in order for you to move on to your soul's dawn, and what came to me was the word strength. So like I'm the strong one, right? So like I'm strong, nothing phases me, you know, and I was just like, ugh, like I mean I don't it that's mm, to me that like I just looked at that, I was like, oh, that's ego, that's ego. So that came very very quickly, which was interesting. And then the other thing that came very quickly is just like what has my soul always been telling me to do, which is community care. And I've just and I did that in university, and then I drifted away for like a few decades and did the whole, you know, whatever, work too hard, check your email at 10 p.m. thing. And now I'm back to community care again. So some of it came immediately, but there's other things here where I'll have to definitely sit with it for a lot longer. Yeah. And thank you. Thank you so much.
You are so welcome. Oh, I can definitely relate, having a part of me that felt like I need to be the strong one until I burnt out. And, you know, I always tell people that burnout is not a sign of weakness. It's a sign that you've been strong for too long. So allowing ourselves to say, do I have to be the strong one for everyone all of the time? Am I allowed to take a break or rest? That for me was it was a tough one. She didn't die off easily. Yeah. Well, I'm glad this has been helpful. Ben, your hand is no longer up. Did you still want to chime in? We have time. All right. Come on back.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And thanks everyone for sharing today too. I think that community and sharing is really vital for this type of work. I'm mostly going to focus on Kendra's comment because it came up since I was thinking about what I had said. And Kendra has suggested that the whisper is there. I'm one of those highly emotional people, so I just cry at the drop of a hat and it feels good. So you'll have to continue to bear with me on that one. This notion of dissolution for me, of unseating myself, when I close my eyes, my consciousness is still behind my eyes. And the place that I want to live from is not there. I don't want to live close to the electrical impulse that goes through brain tissue that makes conscious thought. I don't want to live there anymore. I want to live in the whisper. So I guess I'm looking for techniques on how to continue, because the soul and that feeling of journey, I'm always reminded of the power of that. And when I live from it, everything works out. And the more I do this, not necessarily angrier, but the stickier the logic, the consciousness, the ego, the stickier that self-identity that's been ingrained into me gets, and it gets louder. And you can't hear a whisper when someone's shouting. So I want to learn more how to feel the whisper rather than listening to it, so that even if someone is yelling from the ego side, that I can live through feeling of the soul. So I'm just looking for some help with that. And a lot of the things that are going on during this summit obviously are really powerful and very helpful for that. And I'm gleaning so much information. But just to you specifically, thoughts, just very quickly, of ways that I might be able to continue in that direction.
Beautiful reflection. Thank you, Ben. Well, there are two things that come to mind right off the bat. And the first one is this. You say about the whisper, you know what it is to be in witness consciousness, as we call it in mindfulness meditation. I would invite you to do a couple of things, and I invite everyone to do this. Make a nice list. You might even make it a timeline from the earliest point in your life where you were able to perceive whispers. So I actually hear voices and know I'm not schizophrenic. So sometimes the whispers are audible, like, you know, or in your head. It could be just a knowing, a gut feeling. Make a list of those. Make a timeline of all the times you've perceived a whisper, an intuition, or that sense of your soul speaking. And then if you do it on a single sheet of paper, unless you've had a bazillion of these, you might start to notice patterns. What happened, what was going on in your life, or what was going on in you that allowed you to perceive that whisper, so that you start to recognize clues. Were there things that you did to create a condition where you were more sensitive? Or was it, unfortunately, you know, trauma, you know, where we finally hear it and it's screaming, as you said? The second piece of that is the part of you that does the screaming, as you said, or a part where you can feel it's this entrenched ego, that part needs attention. Oftentimes in my life and with many of my clients, they'll say, I just want to get past this perfectionist or this internal critic. And I'm like, okay, but coming at it with a lot of anger or hate or wanting to silence it is always counterproductive, because what you resist persists. So I often say, just giving yourself a finite period of time, not forever, but saying, okay, listen, I'm really feeling this or hearing this angry or intractable part. And you might say, I'm going to give you 30 minutes. Let's sit down and give me all you got and really let this part speak. You can do that in meditation. You can do that with expressive writing. Sometimes we'll do non-dominant handwriting. Or you could do, like in Gestalt, the 2-chair technique, where you, as the consciousness, you sit in one chair and you say, okay, noisy part, you clearly want to be heard. I'm going to let you have it. And then you sit in that other chair and you let that part express. And I say that because, as I shared before, our parts are not going to go away. Even if we become enlightened, I mean, I don't know. Maybe if you're levitating, if you become the Buddha or the Christ, maybe. But for most of us, even when we have these enlightened moments, there's still parts of the psyche that persist. And so if you give it the attention that it needs and just ask, okay, dude, what are you so worried about? What are you afraid of? Like, we want to go into this dissolution, but that's clearly bringing up fear. Tell me what you want. What is it you didn't get in the past? What are you afraid that if we did surrender, what are you afraid would happen? I mean, I'm getting into a lot of IFS parts work, but you might also ask, well, what are you trying to protect me from? Is there some inner tender part of me that you're like, no, you can't go listening to whispers. We gotta protect this little one. If you're in whisperland, you're not going to see, right? So giving that part permission to be heard or seen and validated, even if it's just for a finite period of time. So then you could say, okay, now you've gotten it all out and I've heard you. Thank you for trying to protect me and keep all of us safe. Now, what can we do in this moment as an adult? Because maybe you have to address some wounds of the past to say, listen, I now have a timeline of all the whispers, all the intuitive hits and the synchronicities, all the times that the universe, God, my soul have been leading me and protecting me. So I can tell you that we've got more resources and support than what you're counting on from the past. So it's a little bit of a negotiation. And I find that usually helps. And if you are in a moment where it's being super loud, if you've given that part or several parts the time and attention, when they kick up again, you can say, hey, listen, I know who you are. Right now, I'm in the middle of really trying to tune into my whisper. I'm going to come back to you either tonight at 5 or this weekend at 9 a.m. Because our parts, they don't like to be ignored and they don't like to be stifled. So in the moment, we get into that negotiation as well. And if your parts can learn to trust, oh, that whisper thing he was talking about. Okay, now I see. He's not really trying to get rid of me or ignore these glaring things, these threats. They might be able to pipe down, and then you can work with them just like you would work with a small child. So I hope that's helpful.
It really is. Thank you so much.
Thank you for sharing. Well, this has been a fun session. I did pop into the chat the link where if you'd like to go through these 5 stages of the dark night of the ego. I have a guidebook with some guided meditations, including guided meditations to help you dialogue with these parts. If you do have a protector part that's noisy and like, no, we gotta do. There's a guided meditation in that bundle that will help you dialogue with your protector parts. There's also meditations around forgiveness and compassion for the inner child. So all of that's included in that link. Does anyone else want to comment, ask a question, or share before we wrap up? I also lead a free guided meditation every month as part of the Real Self-Love movement. And I'm also hosting something called the Recode Lab, where I help you recode these parts of your psyche. So all of that is also on my website, totally free, and would love to support you if you think that would be helpful. Leading the guided meditation each month really helps to have more time to really go through these processes. So, anything else coming up? Anything you want to share or ask? Thank you, Barbara. I'm glad that this was helpful. Thank you. Thank you for the hearts, Tara. It's good to see you again. Tara's been around for a good while. Yes, so good to see you again. Well, I'm glad this was helpful. I'm glad that you tuned in today. I'm so grateful to Fleet and the whole Heart Mind team for creating this new opportunity for us to meet live and not just only watch the recorded interviews. Did any of you see my interview? I think it was on yesterday about the hero's journey. Hopefully you'll grab the Lifetime pack and see my interview too. Well, I'll stick around if there anything else that's coming up for you. Any questions? You're so welcome. You are so welcome. Thank you for all of the appreciation in the chat. Well, please do leave comments on the streaming page, and when they ask for feedback, if you found my session or any of these sessions helpful, let the team know, because HeartMind has just opened this up as a possibility during summits, and if it's been helpful for you, then let them know so that we can keep doing it. Yes, Kendra, good to see you again.
I just wanted to ask you, do you play the banjo? I saw a banjo.
Yes, you see the banjo. No,
Yeah, that's so great. No.
that is actually, it's actually my father's banjo.
Oh, well, so I know this is off topic, but I just thank you for everything. I have a, well, this maybe ties into what you were just saying to Ben, but I've had moments in my life where my intuition was so strong. I mean, just like guidance all the time, just like divine guidance, or you know, total connection to source, just like flowing through all the time. And I really got lost. And I guess what I'm finding is that somehow I just got caught in a vortex of fear, like we've been talking about. And so I used to feel I had the tools to find my way out. And somehow I got so far down in the hole that I even started just running away from all that, or feeling like, well, maybe that was just cult, maybe the spiritual path. I was doing path work with a group of people that was very, very effective. And suddenly, somehow I turned on it, almost like I just denied it all, and said, oh, this is a cult, or, oh, this is, woo woo or whatever. But but I know I've known it to be truth. I've known it to be effective. So I'm not quite sure. Sorry, this is coming so late in the session. This just suddenly came up for me and occurred to me. Why would I turn my back on everything that was sustaining me? And I mean, I guess it's just a big ego loop. I don't know.
Maybe. And it may be that there was something that your intuition picked up on that wasn't quite copacetic. Now, you use the word cult. I don't know. I don't know what you were involved in, but I do know that for some of us, we can pick up hints of when someone is in Messiah complex, or they are leading into cult-like behavior. So it may be part of you picked up on that, and as opposed to sussing what is usable, you just turn your back on it. But what I heard you saying just now is, but I know that there are some grains of truth. And I would call that truth with a capital T. And so when we're in the labyrinth, that is usually when we're able to say, now that I've burned away everything in the crucible, what is my truth? What are the true values that really correspond with me or my soul? And so if you go and you look at some of those principles, you can take them one by one. Is this really holding some value of truth? You may not go back to those same people or those groups, but if those principles actually resonate with you and could help you, then that might be a way to anchor back into practices that help you to get out of those fear loops. And if it was ego, then it was ego. But you get to choose. You get to look with your soul, with your conscious awareness. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and I just realized something. I think throughout my life, I've kind of looked for a savior or a messiah of some kind. And I'm getting a message that I need to trust what's in me. I don't need to look out there for it. And yes, people can say things that guide you. I mean, I'm very grateful for you. You've said some wonderful things, but you don't, I need to look to my guru inside, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes. And you got a double thumbs up from Tara.
Hey, Tara.
Yes.
Hi.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Because
Thank you.
ideally, that's what our really good spiritual teachers will do. They will point you back to your innate intelligence, your inner guru. And that's why I say you get to evaluate everything and see what fits for you. But it's beautiful. You recognized, oh, I have this tendency to look toward others or to look for a messiah or a savior. And that is consciousness. That is sovereignty in you that's saying, oh, this is a pattern and I don't have to follow that pattern anymore.
Yeah, and in one of your prompts, there's that, oops, I just lost it again. It came through, but yeah. Okay, I had a thought, but it's okay. You've said it all, and yeah, thank you very much.
You're so welcome.
Yeah,
Thank you
yeah.
for sharing again.
Thank you. I hope I'm not taking too much time up. Yeah.
It's all good. I
Yeah.
don't know if
Thank
Eric
you.
has something else to do, but I see Tara also has her hand up. I'm happy to stay for a couple more minutes.
Okay.
Tara. Thank you, Kendra.
Thank you.
Let's see if we can unmute Tara here.
Not there yet.
There we
There we go. Okay. So I'm excited since a retreat with you. The identity of woundedness is gone. I'm whole. It's freaking magic. I have this wholeness, and it keeps evolving. My heart and sense of joy in the beginning was here, and it keeps expanding, and now it's kind of like it's pouring down on me, like it's this love is coming from outside, and I still get triggered, but I can step back much more quickly. I can practicing managing emotions, and I just figure that, right, those are life koans, and they get to be fine tuning, but they're not going to go away. So love them, accept them, thank them for getting me to here. And I'm being kind of protective while these new neural pathways are forming. I want them to get deeper, and I can see in this growing self-acceptance and love that there's this possibility of not taking stuff in, of that belongs to them, that they're whatever it is that's going on. And it keeps unfolding. So to share, last Friday I was driving home, and I'll go home, and I got this little whisper that said, "Go walk downtown." I live in this beautiful little city that has old buildings, 100-year-old buildings downtown. Okay. I went to walk downtown. I'm walking around, and I belong. The trees, the people, the street, the concrete, the cars, everything. And this just kept, I belong. And I never felt that before. I've always felt I'm an outsider. I don't belong. I don't know how. Everybody else has it. I belong. So there's this wholeness, getting love, joy, sharing it with others, seeing that shift in others emotionally from this energy. And now, so there's the little voice. It was just this little nudge. I didn't say why. I just, okay. Walking around, I belong to everything. Thank you so much. Oh, and I'm looking at this, and I know it's embodied. It's not here. I'm not.
Yeah.
looking for it. I'm not imagining it. I'm just allowing, and it's coming up. And is this what aliveness feels like? I mean, I know I had to shut down so early to survive and not feel the body. But so that's what I'm thinking. Is this aliveness? This joy, this ride? It's not going away.
I'm so grateful to hear that. Thank you so much for sharing.
And I know the lift it gives us when those we have been working with share the healing. So a gift to you and gratitude for the work that you do, and love. Thank you. I know you get it.
You know I do. I mean, I've been tearing up because I knew you for, I don't know, over a year before I met you at the retreat, and I just see love in you. And so for you to actually feel it and not just intellectually get it, but to feel it, oh, I'm so grateful. Thank you for
In the
sharing.
beginning, it was from my heart, and now it's a fog. It's it's just surrounding me, and and my body is shifting. My rhythms are shifting. It's just wow. Thank you.
You're so welcome. Thank you for sharing that with us, Tara.
And to acknowledge all the work I did before
Oh,
that
yeah.
led up to making this possible to happen.
Yes. Much love.
Stay safe. Thank you.
You
Thank you.
too.
Thank you.
Vina, I see that your hand is up, if I'm saying your name correctly.
Yeah, hi there. It's Biene,
Vina.
but I listen to B as well, so I mixed up time zones, so you might have talked about that already. If so, just let me know, please. My main question is how can I explain that? It's kind of I've got so many different parts and kind of many protective parts protecting wounded parts in myself, as well as protecting parts of myself against more attacking parts of myself. Do you know what I mean? Kind of and when you just said that giving a voice to those parts or giving them specific space, that's something I'm struggling with for a couple of months already, to be honest. That so many of my wounded parts are so deeply afraid of those attacking parts that I myself can't really hold kind of the space. And whenever I succeed in holding that space, it's only being next to the sea and being on my own. So I'm not able to do that too often, but perhaps cascading this might help, or perhaps you have just some advice or something like that. So
Well, thank you for the question. We're a little bit short on time, but I will say this. When it comes to parts work, I will quote Richard Schwartz, the creator of internal family systems, and say that sometimes we're not meant to go straight to those really wounded, tender parts. Sometimes we have to work with those protector parts first to gain their trust, to gain their perspective, to understand why are they so fired up, or those attacking parts that you described. So rather than being frustrated that I can't get to the tender parts, I would say start with them. And Eric mentioned in the chat that the recording of this will be up all day, so you can go back and listen to a little bit more of what I said there. But I would say giving those attacking parts a finite, not forever, give them a limit. Like,
yeah,
because what I'm talking about here is whether you're in self, as Dick Schwartz calls it, self with a capital S or not, ideally you want to be the one who's in control. And I mean you as in the true you, yourself with a capital S, or your soul. And
Yeah.
what that means is, in my terminology, is you are the sovereign. You are the person in charge. And that means you get to even talk to those attacking parts and say, okay, listen, I get it. You've got valid reasons for attacking. I'm sure you do. But I'm only going to give you 30 minutes. And maybe it's 10 minutes. I don't know what you can tolerate. And so you
Yeah.
might say,
All right.
okay, at Saturday morning at 9 a.m., I'm going to pull out the journal. We're going to brew a cup of tea, and I'm going to give you 30 minutes. And you can look back on this recording where I talked to Ben about how to do some of that.
Yeah.
But you've got to give them limits, because otherwise they will hijack you. Well, for some of us, they will hijack you and take over your whole life or your whole day.
Yes.
And so little by little, as you can get to know what are their needs, what are their desires, what are they trying to protect you from, and then you can ask them, what can I do for you now that you didn't get back in the past, that can help build that trust that we have the resources to take care of these wounded parts. You're not getting fully into unburdening, but you've got to start building that relationship of trust.
So first building a relationship of trust, and perhaps being a bit more compassionate about the attacking parts, and then going on.
Yes, always with compassion.
All right, give my best. Thanks a lot.
You're so welcome. All right, my friends. Well, this has been a joy to connect with you. Thank you so much. I'm really grateful for the opportunity to go a little bit deeper on some of this soul work, which is my favorite. So I wish you a wonderful weekend, a wonderful holiday season. Continue enjoying the summit. And if I get to see you on one of our other live sessions in the Real Self-Love movement or the Recode Lab, I would love to see you there. So take good care, everyone.
Thank you so much, Wandrea.
Thank you so much, Eric. I appreciate it. Bye, everyone.